All right.
I'm Ben Ellwood.
I'm Jen Carnovale.
And we are here with Oink Time, and we are here with our guest, comedian, writer, Justin Hamilton.
Oh, yeah. I have to be honest, I'm more excited by the writer part than the comedy part. Like, the writer part, like me in grade 3 when he was writing a short story for Miss Burgess, who was this wonderful teacher. She had a massive birthmark on her face, actually, and her face was really swollen. And it was one of the kids in my class said, "What happened to your face?" And I just remember evening, like at the age of 7, thinking, oh, maybe if I just stop breathing, I can die and not have to experience any more of this experience.
Yeah.
Blah, blah, blah. Anyway, I loved it. And I was writing this 10-page opus, which was essentially Boba Fett in Raiders of the Lost Ark. So I've wanted to be a writer since grade 3. So hearing writer, very long-winded way to get into this.
There's a few comics that have actually
Makes me
said
very
that they
happy.
prefer writer to comedian.
As the title.
I think there'd be some people who have seen me live who would say that as well. How dare you, whoever you are?
It's interesting, like with kids, how they don't have any issue kind of calling something out like that. And I think if you did have a facial birthmark, you would have to get either very used to it or you would become quite kind of...
It's the type of thing where it's endearing when it's a kid and then you reach a certain age where it's like, oh, why did you have to fucking do that? I remember like we had like a dance class in my high school and I remember being like, that was the most socially awkward kid. Like I was like really skinny and just weird and, you know, was happiest in a ballet room when no one talks, if that helps you gauge.
What else was weird about you?
Oh, heaps of stuff. I was
met her?
happiest.
What was your favourite? No, but I'm just curious. I don't find you weird at all. So that's why
I don't think I'm weird now. I've finally
Right.
caught up.
Yeah, Ben. Yeah, Ben.
like anyone, the more you get to know them.
I've caught up. I've caught up. We all, you know, grow at our own rate. It took me to my 30s, and that's fine.
Oh,
hey,
you did it to your 30s. Like, I'm still going.
We're all blooming blossom. Anyway, so yeah, I had to do a dance class, and I was really nervous. But I was like, oh, cool, this is one thing I can do in high school.
Mm-hmm.
And I remember being like actually confident for like 4 seconds. And then this other chick walked in and saw me like wearing clothes that you wear and just looked at me and went, wow, you're really flat-chested, aren't you?
Oh, my God.
And I remember being
Hang
like,
on, how old were you?
I want to kill every part of you. Oh, probably 15.
Oh,
but the
yeah,
point is,
terrible,
like,
right?
you can
that's
call
when it
shit
leaves
out when you're a
lifelong scars.
kid,
Yeah.
but you reach a certain age where that cuteness of like, oh, no, it's nice that you're being honest and we need to have these conversations, where you reach a point, it's like, oh, you're a dick. I never want to talk to you again.
You know what it is that by the time you're of a certain age, you should have learnt and come to embrace empathy.
Exactly. She was the fucked one.
Right.
Thank you.
She was.
It's like remember that great...
Whoever she is, I hate her too.
That great Seinfeld scene where Jerry and Elaine are talking about how they're really good people, and she's like, I look at the freaks. I look out at the freaks. I have my peripheral vision. I don't look too long, but I look at them so they don't feel like they're not being looked at. You don't know how many children have seen me take off my hat and see my bald head and look at me horrified and go,
No, they laugh.
why do you do that to yourself?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, they don't understand that it's a natural process of decay.
Or they
just,
think it's a punchline that you've written in.
I like
They're
that there's an alternative universe where there's this really confident Ben Ellwood who's just one day goes, I reckon I'm being a bit of a dick because I'm too up myself. You know what I need to do? I need to dial it down a bit, and then just gone, and most of your hair's fallen out.
I know, it was a long,
Get the self-esteem
slow,
back to a manageable rate for everyone.
process. The funniest reaction ever was a kid that had known me for quite a long time but had never seen me with my hat off.
Yeah.
And then my hat came off and I heard her lean to the child next to her and go, now I know Ben's secret.
Oh, my God. She's the funniest kid alive. That is
It's just
amazing.
horrifying.
Oh, my God. Imagine that's your secret, though, right?
Yeah.
I think we should go to the hat, Ben.
go to the hat.
So we've
Go
got
to
a
the
hat, lots of words, pick one out and see where we go.
Oh, okay.
There we go.
It's whatever comes to mind in Justin Hamilton's brain when he sees the word.
Well, this is a thick one as well. It looks like one of those. What are those things where you have to pick a colour and then
Like
you
a
go
fortune
BLUE?
What are they called? Chatterbox.
Chatterbox. Ah, love.
It's so funny. Literally, the last episode we did, our guest said, so there's only negative words in the hat, right?
Yeah, I know.
Everything so far has been rage, fear,
so happy.
anxiety,
I got to be
disgust.
honest. This is the second time I've been really wrapped in this podcast. I was wrapped with Ryder and I'm wrapped with love.
Oh, good.
So good.
We're ready to go, people. Tune
Yeah.
in. You're listening to Smooth FM.
So many people are
great.
like, is it all just real sad? Like,
Of course,
is it just sad?
it's Ben and
Oh,
Jen's
yeah.
podcast. Of course, it's going to be fucking
Not this
depressing.
week. Love.
No, this is great. Look, where do you want to start? Like, I've got heaps of things that come to mind.
I would like to know what was the first time in your life you registered, not just like,
By the way, can
love-
everyone hear that? Because it's making me want to go to the toilet.
Yeah, there's a drain pipe in our studio.
Oh, yeah.
They were flushing a cum down the toilet when they heard the word love.
Oh, yeah, that's right. I forgot to flush.
Just the one.
What was the first time you registered like an overwhelming sense of love, be it
For
romantic, for an object,
For anything.
anything? Just at the time that you kind of...
Yeah, that's a really interesting question. In an anguished way, I had a little chihuahua called Toby, who, when I was about 6 or 7, was killed by a Great Dane, and the anguish that I felt over that may have been the first time of experiencing love in such an intense way that is almost crippling.
Yeah.
And I know people would be going, 6, 7, but like I just
No, but it's your whole world.
yeah, like just couldn't believe it. I was inconsolable, the poor little guy. So we'll get the negative one out of the way.
Oh, it's okay.
I reckon, but it's such an interesting word, and it can, you can come at it from so many different angles.
Yeah.
Seeing David Bowie live in 1983 was
Yeah.
an overwhelming experience where you're just like, I think that was, I enjoyed music before that, but I think that was the first time I felt an emotional connection to music,
That's such a cool feeling.
Yeah.
Everyone remembers that when you hear a song, you like kind of click online and you're like, oh, I'm with it now.
Oh, yeah.
Have you guys ever had that at comedy?
Yeah.
Like in a room where it's all just...
when you're performing or when you're watching someone?
Either or. But,
Yes.
I had it a couple of weeks ago where it was just like, it felt like the entire 100 of us or whatever were having a symbiotic experience because it had hit that level of not just laughing, but that...
I think it's
people
also...
and it's that... Well, in my head anyway, it's like, well, we're all basically feeling and thinking the exact same thing right now. It's all directed there. And I just had this wash of just... euphoria and love and just like starting getting really weepy.
It's going to sound really wanky, but do you think it has to do with like, how they always talk about trying to reach mindfulness in a higher state where you aren't thinking. And so you're reaching it when you're at the concert and you're watching Bowie and everyone feels like they're on the same plane. And that like mindful...
everything else melts away.
Everything else quietens down.
Thing.
Yeah, and you're just in the moment.
Yeah, and the awareness of being in the moment
And it's
doesn't
a powerful
destabilize the
moment too. It's not like reading a book. It's like, that sort of leaves a print.
Primal or something.
Yeah, there is. I like both of those things. There is something primal, and there is something that imprints upon you. It becomes a part of your DNA.
Yeah,
like seeing like. It's goddamn. If anyone has listened to me before, they're probably thinking, "Oh, wow, Hamo's turned it into something about David Bowie again." So
Nothing wrong with Bowie.
No, I know, but I really apologise for anyone who's
He's your guy.
tuning in. Yeah, I know, but anyway, I'll try to bring something new to the table with this. But having because I went and my mum was never allowed to see the Beatles. So she decided that when she had a kid, if I wanted to see something, I was going to see it.
Awesome.
So when I was 8, I saw Kiss when they toured.
That's so cool.
What's hilarious about Kiss when they first toured Australia was their popularity was on the wane in America because they'd gone all disco with I Was Made for Loving You and Shandy and things like that. And but Australia just had went, oh, Kiss, and they came out like rock gods, right? So I went to that when I was 8, and by about the time I was 10, I'd just kind of grown out of it. I think they took off their makeup. They didn't look like superheroes anymore. It wasn't cool. And then...
the appeal was changed.
It was changed, right? It's like, hang on a minute. It's like,
they're just guys.
Let's go and see an Avengers film where Robert Downey Jr., Chris Evans, Tom Holland... don't wear masks and they're just running around, It's Clark Kent. Why is he just dressed as Superman? Take off the glasses. Anyway, whatever. So, and then I was kind of all over the place with music, and then Mum said, I think you'd like David Bowie, and then explained, I was a bit like, hang on, which songs has he done? And I'd known a handful of them, but... such a contrasting image every time I saw him. But the Ashes to Ashes film clip had been imprinted on my mind from a very young age. So Mum was like, oh, yeah, if you want to go, the tickets are really expensive. They're $20. And anyway, we went. But that experience of seeing performance and theatricality then sparked an interest to get more of his stuff. And the more of his stuff that I got, the more I was intrigued about him as a person and the way he created stuff, to the extent that in many ways, and this is completely wanky, I've really been so influenced by him. That's why early on when I do festival shows, you know, you might come one year and it's a stand-up show, and the next year it might be a play, and the next year it might be Three Colours Hamo, and the next year it might be, you know, Three Dances with John Tilt Adams, whatever. It's
different
all these
types
different
of expression, and
which is also the thing that's probably, to a certain extent, even though I'm not complaining and things have been great, stifled my career. Because people don't want that. They want. Who
knows?
They know the majority of people. You know, the majority of people, not all people, but the majority of people, they want variations on the craft and the formula, and there's nothing wrong with that. Like, that's not me saying it's incorrect, but they want to. They especially as things get more expensive, they want to know what they're going to get. And when they turn up and they see things that, you know, they might turn up and they go, oh, God, why didn't he just do some more stand-up about David Bowie? Why do you have to do a...
This is a weird question, and it's about Bowie and love. But do you think you can love those people? Because, I know it sounds really strange.
You can love the idea of the person.
Do you think it's... Yeah, because, so Anthony Bourdain passed away, and I think I loved everything he produced. I read all of his books. I watched all of his shows. I loved the messages that he had. And if someone said, oh, do you love him? I would say no, because it seems so ridiculous. But there is a part of you that is so invested in someone you've never met that you don't really know, but you love part of what they are giving.
Yeah,
I don't know.
No, that's exactly it. And they're giving a part of themselves in ways that your closest friends never do.
Yes.
You know, there is art to it. There is poetry to it. And you're not, like, I wouldn't claim to know David Bowie, but the stuff that he gave out, I understand as best as I can understand, and it keeps rewarding me in different ways. And so, you know, I get really, like, don't get me wrong, there's, you know, the people who go, oh, God, I'm never going to be able to live again. You go, no, you're going to be fine. So that's annoying. But when people say, oh, you never knew, and what are you getting upset about it? It's like, yeah, but I knew aspects of them that I'll never know in anyone else.
Absolutely.
Yeah, there's a part that does love what they give.
And especially if it's an artist, you know, like Anthony Bourdain or Bowie that puts a lot of their own personal truth into their work, you are getting a part of them that you're not necessarily getting from your closest friends.
Oh, yeah, definitely.
You know, sure, you're living vicariously and you're kind of more in love with the myth or the idea of the person. But those people that really get under your skin and rewrite who you are, because we are, you know.
And that's what it is, I think. The effects they have on you, they've changed something about you. And
we're
a
very consumptive society, you know. I think, you know, especially if you're not a religious person or whatever, a lot of your mythologies and a lot of your stories that you need to navigate how difficult life is comes from art. It comes from television or movies or books or whatever, you know.
External stuff.
Grant Morrison, you know, I know is a big guy for both of us. You know, I to this day have no idea what person I would be if I'd never found his work, because he literally restructured my entire perception of reality from the ground up to the top, like completely. I really don't know who I would be.
Yeah,
and I never picked up the Invisibles and then everything else.
They awakened something in you.
Yeah, mine was Dennis Potter, who wrote The Singing Detective. And as a kid, when I saw that, it was the most mind-blowing thing I'd ever seen. I was so transfixed by it. And then in the back of DC Comics, I think when Sandman was out or something like that, they used to do little On the Ledge, and they had Grant Morrison there, and they called him a Scottish Dennis Potter. And that made me go, oh. So I went and got Doom Patrol, and then
reality changes.
Yeah, and then, you know,
the rest is history.
That's a knock-on effect, isn't it? Which is quite fascinating.
Can I ask, with the love that you feel for Bowie, you know, and part of you is definitely in love with Bowie. You know, did you hold your shit together when you met him?
To the most part, yeah. It was pretty hyper.
That's not bad for the most part.
What was really good, and I'm sorry if people have heard this story before, but what was really good was, first of all, big shout out to Will and Adam Spencer, who really pushed me to get that at Triple J.
That's beautiful, yeah.
I'll always, look, something bad happens to them, I'll be right alongside them just for that moment, even if I know they're in the wrong. But look, I'm doing this because I dare. Anyway, Will's up on manslaughter. Oh my God, Will, the gentlest person I know. Anyway, so it was just a big press conference, and there was a seat right at the front, so I sat right at the front, and the microphone was going out to all the hoity-toity people in the Australian media industry. And they were just asking terrible questions, like absolutely terrible questions, like the guy that American Rosso sent asked, what's your favourite colour?
Yeah.
Have
you seen a koala?
I love Merrick. I've got to bring that up with him and say, what's that about, buddy? But, and then someone said, you haven't changed since you were last here. And he's going, what are you talking about? I've gotten older. And he's opened up his mouth wide. He said, I've got new teeth. Like, what are you talking about? So anyway, they were just getting weird and dumb questions. So anyway, so I sat there with my hand up like I was in school.
Was your heart fucking...
no, because
some adrenaline.
Well, I definitely had adrenaline, but I also just was like, I reckon I can, like, I felt pretty confident.
Yeah.
But it was not because I'm brilliant. It's because I felt like everyone had left a scorched wasteland behind me. And if I could get in, I could really stand out by, that bronze would look gold. Right?
Yeah.
So anyway, so because I had my hand up, he pointed to me, so I got the microphone. And I said, hey, I saw you on tour in the UK last year. And he leant forward. He said, oh, really? And I said, oh, yeah. It was great to see the relationship you had with the Dandy Warhols. If you were to get back into producing, which current artist would you like to work with? And I asked that question because I know he's a fan of music.
Yeah.
So he's like going, oh, yeah, he's talking about Grandaddy and Mercury Rev and Arcade Fire. And he kept talking and talking and talking. He kept pausing and then he talked some more.
Great.
And you're only allowed to ask one question. But I thought, well, fuck it. He likes me. I'm going to keep going. And then he'd pause for so long that I'd go to ask another question and then he'd cut me off and talk about, Iggy Pop. And then he'd cut me off and talk about TV on the radio. And then anyway, eventually... by the sixth time that he'd cut me off, everyone in the room laughed, and he said, oh, sorry, I keep cutting you off. I said, no, that's fine. I just wanted to say that I was really happy when you launched into Under Pressure that the kids knew what the song was and didn't think it was a Vanilla Ice cover, right? So, if you're a Bowie fan, that's a fucking cracking Bowie joke.
Yeah.
And anyway, he laughed, and that's the highlight
of your life.
There,
that's
right?
it.
That's it. Like, cause
That is all you need.
when people say, of the opposite sex or someone they fancy, they say, oh, God, I'd love to have sex with them. It's like, have sex with them? Why did you want to do that? You know what I'd love to do opposite January Jones? Make her laugh. That would make me so happy.
Yeah.
And then at the end of the night go, hey, how good was that?
Yeah.
I don't know what that says about me, but I just feel like there's something more real
No,
about that.
I completely understand. I got to meet David Sedaris at one of
You
his
got to meet Bourdain as well, didn't
and
you?
Bourdain, yeah.
Oh, yeah, right.
And I've been really lucky. Robin Williams, all my
Who?
Robin Williams, all
Oh,
my
really?
great
Oh,
that was
comedy
at the
and
store?
writer loves. No, that was at Robin Williams was at a bar in the Cross upstairs. He'd done a gig, and then I'd run there with Madeline.
That one really fucked me up. I
Yeah.
don't get fucked
I
up
was
by
in
them very
Edinburgh
often,
for
but that really messed me
Yeah.
up, that one.
Yeah.
But when you meet someone, you get to make them laugh. I got to, because Sedaris at the end of all of his readings will do Q&A, not Q&As, will do book signings, and chat to people.
Yeah. A friend of mine is his tour manager.
Okay, so yeah.
So
And he's so patient. He'll stay there for
Really
ages. And you
patient.
watch him signing books for people, and you watch some people, he just goes, yeah, cool, and moves them on. And my partner and I got up there, and we were both really nervous. We're like, tell him this thing. And we got up there, and we told him a story, and he kept laughing, and we were just like,
Right.
oh my God, it was like the best.
It's a
Like,
good
it was
feeling.
so good, and I will forever hold on to that. Like,
Yeah.
made him, even when we made him laugh, we didn't want to. Like, he was like,
that's why you
so
made him laugh."
are you guys married? And we both really quickly went, no. And he fucking pissed himself. And like, that wasn't even on purpose. And we're like, do you remember when he laughed when we said we were?
We weren't even trying to be funny, and we were just funny.
I'm going to own that. Like,
Yeah.
it just like, even now, it just makes you so happy.
yeah, it brings a real joy.
Yeah.
I had the complete polar opposite experience.
Oh, no.
When I met Grant Morrison for the I'm
Edinburgh?
I'm so Edinburgh.
I remember this.
But it's
This is the
Eric.
most humiliating this was the most humiliating stories of my life.
Right.
I'm very, very, very fortunate. I've met him like half a dozen times now, and have made up for my humiliation, as though he would even remember the humiliation. But whatever.
Yeah. Imagine if you turned up and you're talking to him at the second time, you look down, and he's got a tattoo of you on the back of his hand saying,
Script.
"Do not
engage.
do not engage." Yeah.
Remove that
Oh man,
one.
I was the definition of the creepy. The creepy, sweaty stalker guy. So we went to me and
I think we've all been there.
me and a fucking amazing Australian comic, Eric Hutton. We were all in Edinburgh together, and me and him went to Grant Morrison talk, and I'd never seen Grant in the flesh, and I was in peak Grant Morrison obsession at that point. Basically. The Invisibles was my Bible.
Yeah.
I believed large chunks of it was literally true and not metaphor.
You were both reading his book.
Yeah,
you were both
we were
like
quite,
heavy
quite
into
deep.
it. Yeah, very
You
deep.
joined in on the psychic wank then?
Dude, no,
Did you?
this is part of it. So I was kind of getting in on all the kind of the chaos magic of it all. If you don't know, The Invisibles is basically a comic book instruction manual on how to get into a practice called chaos magic, which is basically a mental technology for directing will into results.
Yeah, what a great sentence, by the way.
Yeah.
A lot of words that you wouldn't expect to find in sequential
podcast
order.
about love.
There's a lot of like rituals, and one of the most famous chaos magic rituals is one called sigil magic, where you basically write a desire. So I want to go to the moon, and you write it as a sentence. You remove all the vowels, and then you turn all the consonants into some kind of simplified glyph or witchy poo symbol. And then the whole point is
technical term.
And then the whole point is that you charge the symbol with raw intent to manifest this thing. Yeah. It's a metaphor, but I was at a stage in my life where I was making it literal. And the quickest and easiest way to charge a sigil is to stare at it while you masturbate and then have it flaming in your mind's eye as you come. You
got to be careful though, because then what happens is if you do it too often, you can just be walking down the street and see a symbol that reminds you of it and you jizz in your pants.
Who knew abstract
Muscle
concepts
memory.
could be so sexy? So anyway.
Shell oil. Oh, God.
And I was very much into the Aleister Crowley.
When was the last time? Anyway, I'm 45.
I was very much into the Crowley tarot deck at the time. And my spirit card...
Hang on, what do you mean? Like you were wanking on that?
No. I was very into kind of reading the future with tarot cards. But they were the Crowley deck, so they were better than normal tarot cards. And I had discovered that my spirit card was the Hierophant, which is basically the enlightened magician. So I'm like,
of course it was.
It's a sign from heaven. I'm an enlightened magician.
My Wu-Tang name is the lazy-ass magician, in case you were wondering.
So we go to this book festival. Oh God! Grant Morrison's speaking, and then he's like, "I'm getting the same books after the show." So that was the worst Scottish accent
it was
ever.
pretty bad. That's fine.
You got the anger part right.
So he's sitting at this table, and we're lining up, and I'm feeling fucking great.
Yeah.
I got it.
Are you high?
Got it. No.
Yes.
Yes.
I remember this, Edinburgh. Yes.
Just as a quick aperitif, at one point in Edinburgh, this is my favourite Edinburgh moment ever. I was in a trench coat, a scarf, a flat cap, unshaven, squatting in an alley with a pipe, smoking some marijuana, and suddenly famous debonair comic Greg Proops is walking towards me in the cleanest blue suit you've ever seen in your life.
Because it's Proops.
Yeah. And as he's walking past me, I go, "Hey, Proops, you want to honk on this?" And without missing a beat, he goes, "Absolutely, Daddy-o." And just takes it out of my...
Oh, that is fantastic. Wow.
Yeah, it was like my favourite moment. And now for my least favourite moment. So we're standing in line to meet Grant Morrison, but it's taking too long. Things are just taking too long.
And
I'm starting to get into my own head. And what you realise, I think, well, for me anyway, a lot of the time when I meet someone that I very much respect or a hero or something, there is a part of my infantile brain that's like, all you need to do is say the right sequence of words and he'll go, we're best friends now. And come to my castle.
Yeah.
And I'm going to rewrite all of my comics with you as the main character. Just these like absurd fantasies.
Oh, wow.
When it's just
All-star Ben Ellwood.
Yeah. You're just one more guy that, the thing about Grant's writing is it changes the reality of a lot of people. So a lot of people put this reverential kind of air on him.
It looks exhausting.
Yeah, it looks exhausting.
You know the only other person I've ever seen up close who has that is Paul McDermott.
Really?
Paul McDermott in the Doug Anthony All-Stars, it was like, everyone loved Tim and Richard and loved all three of them, but Paul had...
I loved Paul McDermott when I was younger.
Yeah, he had a magnetism that was like the poor guy looked exhausted. You'd just see...
exhausting.
So charismatic.
Yeah, and in many ways, I don't feel like I've known Paul for nearly 30 years, so I'm sure he'd be fine with me saying this, but he works really hard to make it not work.
Yeah.
He's a great guy, but he enjoys being awkward and being a bit squinty at you and just being a bit, oh, right, did you just make a joke kind of way in his attitude, which is kind of a weird combination of, I think, he's in many ways quite shy, and in the other ways, just being burnt by weird people.
It's like a power move too. Isn't
I
it?
reckon when he first met me, like, and I started doing stand-up, the poor bastard, like, I'm sure it was weird for him.
People. That's the thing. People want a piece. I mean, that's what autographs and all this thing is. Give me a piece of you.
Yeah. How
and,
can I be as great as you?
And I realized in that line that that's what I was doing. I was.
What did you say
I was
to him?
consciously aware that, like, you are. Stop this. You're a moron. Stop it.
You and Eric would have been such opposite
Oh
energies
man,
too. It
listen,
would have
this
been
is so fucked
hilarious.
up. So I get to the front, and by now I'm like literally shaking.
Right.
I'm like just shaking, and I'm like, hey Grant, hey, how are you? He's like, hey, how you going? And he's already got this kind of like, looking out of his left peripheral, like,
Yeah, he's like another psychopath.
Yeah, shuffle this guy on as quickly as possible, please. And I slide over the. I've never fucking told anyone this. This is so embarrassing. I slide the Hierophant card towards him, like, that's my spirit card. Can you sign that? And then he's like, yeah, and he initials it, and he looks up at me, and I go, I once did a sigil for, like, you and me to meet.
Oh,
basically saying to him, I fucking, like,
oh, wow.
Fucking believable. He like doubles back and is like, yeah, right, okay. And like, I just kind of like, fucking idiot, and like walk off. And as I turn around, Eric just glides on in, and within 2 seconds, Grant's
laughing.
Like, woo, I like you, you're my new best friend.
Oh,
and I'm
no.
I fucking hate you, you fuck. So it was like the most humiliating.
The Justice League of Huttons appears on the newsstands. That is honestly,
I did a sigil.
Unbelievable.
Like so that you and I would meet one day.
Why have you kept this story to yourself?
Because
you need to turn this into something.
I'm here with close friends, and it hurts my soul to say.
Oh
that.
yeah, I know, but that's why. Don't get me wrong.
I'm reliving it. I'm having like PTSD back to it. It's so awful. I did a sigil so that you and I would meet, and the look on his face was just like
he was,
especially because you would have been like sweaty and red,
and
as you pacing with your weird hat on and jacket.
Walked off, he probably told security to go and get his loved ones and fly them to Dundee immediately.
Keep an eye on that one.
I made up for it many years later.
Yeah,
I met him. I did. Well, not that he even remembered me.
I did a sigil, and I thought it'd be uncomfortable, but I did another one.
I did a sigil to get over the discomfort of the last time I told you I did a sigil.
The next one said that we're going to be lovers.
Do you remember when we bought?
By the way, the only way that could be worse is if you'd gotten him to sign the sigil. He's wanked over this and then
sigil.
Back. Oh,
do you remember when we bought him breakfast in Las Vegas without telling him that we'd brought him breakfast? I thought that was a lovely gesture.
That's really cool.
We'd just been chatting to him as we were leaving, and he was sitting down with his wife, and they'd been nice to us, so
we paid his bill, but and they were like, "Oh, do you want us to tell him who paid?" And I was like, "Nah, it's him putting magic out into the world."
He's given us a lot of joy, so here's a nice way of doing it and not making assholes of ourselves.
Super, super fucking great guy.
Yeah.
But, should we circle back to love?
Oh yeah, for sure.
I have a question.
By the way, you should finish with Proops. That's a devastating story.
I love Proops. Could he be cooler?
Daddy-o.
Absolutely, Daddy-o. And literally, it was within pace, and he just took the pipe out of my hand without even disinfecting. I'm just some fucking hobo.
Yeah.
Hey, yeah, sure, man.
Yeah. I'm pretty sure whatever he's done in his life, there's bigger concerns than sharing a pipe with a little dude in Edinburgh.
Great dude.
I had a question about just what love means to you, but in the sense where, I have seen when Ben is in love and how he behaves when he is in love, and how I behave when I'm in love. Like, what actions tell you that you're in love with someone or something?
What do I do that makes you know that I'm in love?
You're fucking annoying. But like, you get real annoying.
But why? In like a dreamy,
you get
dreamy
so
way?
anxious. One day you're like, everything's great, I'm in love, it's going to be really cool. And then the next day you project on me and you're like, you're fucked. Everything's fucked. And then the next day you're like angry at me if I say I'm happy. And then the next day he's like highlight up and down.
I don't love to love.
You hate to love.
I love to love.
Yeah, this is, I guess, the essence of the question. He hates to love.
No.
I love to love.
No. I love to love.
No, you fucking don't.
I love to love in a platonic sense. I love
Okay.
to love.
I guess
you
you're
love the platonic love.
But I do not love to romantic love. It freaks me out and it fills me with dread.
Gets so angry.
Dread.
Like a week and a half in, and he's like fume, like, coming out of it. And I think I love to love if I feel like safe in it. So I don't know what that says about me, but
When I first realized that I was in love with the last woman I was deeply in love with, the moment it clicked, I was like, oh my God, I'm in
was so
love with
bad.
her. And the very next thought was, oh shit, now we can really fuck each other up.
but of
Now,
course,
wow.
neither of us are
That's,
getting out of this
but as if you're going to say that
unscathed.
to the person, so instead you say it to all your platonic friends that you love.
Well, of course,
like me.
because, you know,
but it's
yeah.
like it's heaps, like it's all the time.
Can't bear it. Do you love to love?
I'm completely Donna Summer about it. I love to love me, baby. Look, it's been a while, and there's just been different versions of it.
It's always different with each person, isn't it?
Yeah, it's such a. So I don't quite know what to really look for, to be honest. I feel like maybe now, and this is probably not how I open my Tinder profile, but I'm not entirely
Okay,
certain
Cupid, man.
that I've experienced. I feel like I've experienced too much now to be able to love like I used to, and that's
Because you
really,
get hurt.
yeah, you just got a bit of scar tissue.
Yeah.
You also, like for them as well. I think of the mistakes I made, and where you not even big mistakes. I just mean where you could have just been better, etc. And so I'm not really, and I'm pretty good friends with a lot of my exes. To the extent like two of my best friends, the two previous exes, we talk all the time. And they're great human beings. So I've been pretty lucky to be able to keep that friendship.
Yeah.
But it's an effort. Like, even when you know that the breakup is good, that first time that you hear they're dating someone else, it's like, oh God,
Yeah.
hang on a sec,
horrible.
I thought I was all right, and then
Yeah.
it's weird, and then so I just don't know if I feel like it would be the next time I'm in love. I feel like it's going to be more. And this, I'm sure women will be listening to this going, oh, stop it, open up a window. It's getting too hot with this conversation. But it will be comfortable.
Pragmatic?
I think that's
Yeah.
not that bad though. Like, because when you were saying how it changes and as you get older, you're like, oh, will it be as intense or whatever? Because if I think back to my very first love,
Oh, yeah.
when I think back to it, you're free and excitable and everything is wonderful because you don't really have a concept of heartbreak yet.
Yeah.
But when I reflect on it, even though it was great because you can love so wholly, the love that I experienced then was also very shallow.
Yeah.
In the sense that we both didn't. I don't think I knew who I was. I don't think they knew who they were. So it's like
but
even
nobody
though
knew
there's
what was going on.
no one, knows what's happening.
Yeah.
So even though there's like scar tissue and there's pain, sometimes it can be a more honest love because it's like the whole thing you said of comfortable within that. I think
Yeah.
is loving them with all their fucked stuff and going, yeah, that's cool. This is my fucked stuff. And
You know what I think will define this a little bit better than comfortable?
Okay.
Because comfortable, what, as you were talking, I was like, yeah, I reckon
Not the
what
right
you're
word?
saying is right, and it's not quite the word.
not the right word.
But I reckon what it actually is I don't know if I have the capability of being romantic anymore. I can be.
How were you romantic before? Like, what did you consider romantic?
Like
No,
probably,
I don't. I love romance. Come on.
Yeah, no. Like in everything from thoughts to maybe I could settle down with this person, and
So romantic
maybe
Pie in the
ideas?
sky type
kind
stuff.
of that kind of broad stroke thing. I was definitely a poetry writer in my day.
Really? You wrote love poems?
Yeah, but not
That's so
necessarily,
earnest.
not necessarily, not necessarily love poems, but just poems in general. Do you know what I mean?
right.
Like
Expression.
And it was definitely expression, and also because I was. I didn't do this consciously, but it was all part of me learning how to write. I was just writing constantly short stories, This is just before I started stand-up. So it was almost like all these different expressions, I would say my poetry is probably more lyric,
Right.
It would fit more into a lyrical kind of
So what
vein.
would you consider romantic now? If it's not like
Just
poetry and it's not
Not setting up what I would consider
A joint
romantic
bank
now?
account? Is
No, that is insane.
That's
That
not
is
romantic.
insane.
I agree, it's insane.
So whoever, if you're listening, and I don't care how much you love each other, do not have a joint.
It's what my mum's told me since
yeah.
I was little.
Not joint bank
Yeah.
account. As
Keep
soon
your
as
money
money
to
gets
yourself.
involved
Yeah.
with any kind of
Like, be
interpersonal
honest with each other,
relationship,
but
it's just-
geez. Anyway, whatever. Well, that comment probably goes into what I'm about to say, which is what I would consider romantic now is the ability to start a relationship with someone where you haven't already walked into the room and worked out where the emergency exits are. And that is a terrible thing to say.
No, it's an honest thing to say.
It's not the exit. It's the, if they do this, I've got to stop this now, because I know that this is going to go probably in a direction that's not going to be good for either of us.
But isn't that just isn't that a past a certain age just pattern recognition?
Yeah, I guess.
I've been here before.
No, yeah, it's definitely that. It's, life experience. It's, looking out for yourself. But
is there
joy
joy in the temporary
romantic.
Love? No, Is there joy in the experiencing the love, even if you think it's... Like, I've been with people where I know we're not going to be together forever.
You're not in love with them.
Yeah.
You can love them, but also know that you are not compatible. I have had really long relationships where I'm like, I love you and I will continue to love you when we break up, but there is no way that we will be able to go through life together it's just not going to happen.
There's just something fundamentally flawed in the relationship that doesn't stop it from not being good, but just stops it from being long-term. Because if we stick with it, it's going to not evolve. Yeah. It's going to fester.
Are you looking for those things when you go into it? Ben is looking from like day one.
I'm not looking. No. What looking for what?
The problems.
Oh yeah, definitely.
Like day one, like he'll be like, I don't know, they wear these shoes.
Fuck that! I'm never that fucking shallow. How fucking dare you? I have never fucking.
Husk.
No. Husk. Fucking stop projecting, you fucking. No,
Ben, that is I think the Ellwood doth protest too much because that was 6 fucks in 15 seconds, right, Jen?
I didn't say anything.
I agree with the broad statement that I am looking for problems, no doubt.
Yeah.
But I'm also a person that when I go into the cinema, I check where the fucking emergency exit is in case there's a shooting. So I'm looking for fucking the worst case scenario in every scenario. Yeah. Just naturally.
Yeah.
That's how my people survive.
Highly anxious Jewish man.
How good if you went into the cinema and you worked out where the emergency exit was, and it helped you escape the girl that you're taking on the date. She's the one with the gun. That would be fantastic. 2 birds with 1 stone.
So if tomorrow you were to experience love, but without all the other stuff, what would it look like?
Oh.
Like for me, it's contentment and
yeah.
honesty and trust and little things like having a meal together and being able to talk about stuff, or having a meal together and saying nothing and feeling really good about it. Don't I crave what?
I
was going to say, don't you crave isolation sometimes? Like, isn't it just too much sometimes?
Yeah, but I get it when I want it.
Fuck off for a day.
Yeah, but then
maybe not one so of us, aggressively, but
but then
I'm an only child.
That will happen though. Yeah. But that will happen. Like I'll be like, I'm gonna chill out alone. There's a reason why I don't live in a studio because I live with my partner and we need space.
Right. But someone, in the modern age, hopefully both of you have your own careers and you have your own things going on, and I think there's a real comfort in being able to recognise that your partner's friends and some of your friends, you're not into, and it doesn't affect the relationship because you can go, oh yeah, I'm going to go and catch up with Gary. Oh, you know what? You can catch up with Gary. Why is that? Oh, all you're going to do is talk about the Dark Knight trilogy, Bowie, and I hear enough of that at home. Like, oh yeah, you know what? That's fair enough. And you don't take it on board.
Or also, you just have friends that you don't even need to do that. It's like, I'm going to go see this person. It's like, cool.
Yeah, have a good one.
You don't have to be attached to you're too fucking intense, Ben. It's either everything or nothing.
No, it's true. It's true. It's
and that's what's killing you.
It's either total codependency.
Yeah, and that's what's killing you.
It's not killing me. I just
it's killing your chances of love.
I've also think a lot about, like and I'm not being one of those people that's like, hey, I'm polyamorous and pansexual at all, because I feel I was
tried
never.
That.
No,
it
doesn't work. Well, not for me. No, but I often wonder
period
if, like,
that you like to black right out. That wasn't me. Yes, it was.
Well, it was temporarily.
It was a hell of a 97 minutes.
Yeah. Not even the full 2 hours. Jesus. No, but I wonder if, like, the need to lock things down with very kind of concretized labels also steps in the way for a lot of developing things. Like, there's always this sense of what is this? What is this? And, I feel like that a lot of the time can be quite a thing that if people aren't ready to move into something that the word suggests, the intensity that the word
But what are you moving into if you're dating someone?
I don't know.
It means you're dating someone.
No, but I think...
Why does it have to carry...
No,
So what I mean, it's too intense.
No,
why does it have to carry the burden of death?
But I think
that's... what are we doing? We're dating.
But I think a lot of people are like that. It's like the friend thing. The word friend gets thrown around so dramatically.
That's true.
I was talking with someone the other day and they were like, oh, you know me, we're friends. I'm like, no, we're not. We've had 5 conversations. We're pals.
Right.
We're chums, but we're not friends.
I can relate to that.
Friend is a very specific term to me.
My Hungarian mother told me when I was 5, you're lucky if you have one good friend in this life.
My grandma said the exact same thing to me.
And I was like,
Right.
It's true.
I'm going to be lonely, but it's true.
It's true. It's true. And it's so to me, the word
Eastern
friend is an
Europeans.
extremely specific word. But, everyone's so quick to lock things down and label it. It's like, oh, we had that great fucking conversation at the bar that time. We're friends.
Right.
Like, well, why can't we just be buddies?
Pals.
Yeah.
Amigos.
But, I think I think a lot of the time, and because language dictates reality, I think a lot of the time the language is very concretized and
So
specific.
Language is letting you down.
I think language is the most liberating thing, but also the most paralyzing thing, because the greatest things in life cannot be properly put into language. You cannot articulate, revelation.
I think everyone's just
even
scared
love.
of getting
Love
hurt.
doesn't fucking love. And what does that mean?
But why
There's so many
are you
genres of
so
it.
petrified of the labels? It's just because everybody's scared of being hurt.
Absolutely, I'm terrified of being hurt.
Oh, everybody is, I think, all the time.
I
But I
hate
think
it.
that's what the fixation is of, well, what is this? Because the person asking is like, I want to know because I care about you. And if you fuck me over, I want to be prepared for
But that doesn't
But the
guarantee
reality is they don't
anything.
mean anything. Yeah, the words don't
It
mean
doesn't
anything.
mean anything.
You can have someone say it means we're together and we're monogamous and I love you and we're going to get married and they can be fucking 5 other people. It doesn't mean anything. You just have to trust in yourself that it's going to be okay.
And I think that's with love. You just
And I
know
say
when
that
you
as
know.
someone who's like,
You just know when,
barely coped when I've broken up with people.
you barely cope when you're fucking in the depths of
I know
lovely
I'm
love.
happy and I'm barely coping.
You talk about,
so-
I'd be quite up for dating. I just haven't done it in a long time. And I haven't met anyone while I've been up in Sydney. But to be pretty honest, I haven't been looking either. It hasn't been a priority. The priority has been, just kind of sorting out where I'm at and where I want to go. So
Which
that
is-
felt
But that's
like
good.
it was not something that really anyone who met me in that period would have to go through as well. Hey, this is me at the moment and I'm shifting. And I'm not saying that you don't change all the time, but,
No, but
you know
there's-
when you've got some intense stuff that you want to work through first.
But that's
Definitely.
a hugely mature kind of headspace, because I think not enough people acknowledge, hey, maybe I'm not fit for a relationship right now.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And maybe some poor fucking innocent person, and that's what I realized. That is 95% of the dating scene. It's people that are just out of relationships that are not fit to be. They are not fit for human consumption.
Yeah.
You are fucking all over the place. You're pinwheeling around. You're dragging other people into your vortexes.
Are you projecting?
No, I did it. I mean, I wasn't an awful, horrible person, but I definitely was not ready to launch into relationships. And I dated a couple of people early on after my breakup that I didn't have the courage to communicate that properly to them. I talked about that I was feeling very shell-shocked and etc., but I never kind of said to them, just let's lay down the reality of what this is. And right now, all I am capable of is, whatever, going to the movies and having a smooch at the end of the night. But I'm not fit for a relationship because I'm going through shit. But I couldn't say that. And so in their hand, it escalated. And I ended up just, hurting a couple of people just through cowardice and through not being ready to be that intimate with someone again.
Yeah.
And I don't... And
is it cowardice or is it misplaced desire not to
offend.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Probably. But then
I go, well, you know what? That's probably cowardice.
cowardice. That's what it is. Because
I just decided to say it in more words.
Yeah, because it is. It's it's still an egotistical thing. I will hurt you.
Yeah.
Or and I think that I just feel like it's this awful reality that unfortunately there's going to be a bunch of collateral damage after every relationship because both parties will go out into the dating world misrepresenting themselves most of the time, really, like overselling their competency to be in a relationship.
Or just looking for something that can't really be filled.
Or basically looking for, will you be a facsimile of the person I miss so fucking much?
She used to play with my hair.
And then that would happen a lot. I would wake up in the middle of the night with someone in my bed, and for a split second I would think it was my ex-girlfriend, and it was and then suddenly the grief, the waves of grief, and this person's like, why have you shut down? And you're like, I can't fucking say why I've shut down because you're not who I want you to be.
Oh, yeah.
Like, it's just awful.
Yeah, why put them through it? I'm completely with you on that. I reckon I've been cowardly towards people, not even, this is not actually directed at women, this is just directed at people.
Yeah.
But I've been cowardly towards people who have been that, hey, can you fix me? Even if they're not meaning to be that. If I have had that in the last couple of years, that's made me feel so claustrophobic where I've been like, oh, fix you. I'm trying to fix myself. Like I'm trying to put things together here so I can work out what I'm going to do next because, I've got, I'm a stand-up comedian. I've got no skills. I've got to work out what I'm doing and be a little bit more successful to get me through to when I drop dead, hopefully of old age, because I've got no super, unless you count all those copies of Superman comics. Do you know what I mean? So, it just gets you to a point where it's just like, oh, you know what? Like, I've got heaps of friends. I'll just talk to my friends. That'll be easier. I get different little emotional things out of each of my pals.
Different people,
Yeah.
I very much feel that as well at the moment. And that's not to say, you Jen are always very kind of like, there's always a full stop on like, you've got to do this. And
that's not true.
No, I think you think that I'm in a place. That's
not
permanently.
true.
And it's like, well, it's not nothing. No,
it's not permanently.
It's just
that you go into holes and I recognize them as they're happening. Like you talk about the apocalypse heaps. Like the other day when and you were like, everything's fucked, everything's depressing, and you kept talking about the apocalypse. I'm like, well, the more you talk about it, the more bummed out I'm fucking getting. Do you know what I mean?
Right.
Like it's like this vicious cycle.
I will spaghettify you into my event horizon.
I want to cut it off because I don't want to fall into the hole. How good of a friend am I if you're going, life's fucked? I'm like, you know what? You're onto something. Let's end it now. Like, it's not going to help.
But you know what? We've done this heaps, Ben, because he'll get more like a movie. That say we see a movie together and I think it's a bit shit and I'll say that was a bit shit and then he'll get really angry about it and then sometimes
that sounds right.
I'll do one of two things. Sometimes I'll just like, oh yeah, I'm just going to get furious about it as well and really enjoy being furious and being over the top. Or sometimes I'll just look at Ben and just go, no, it wasn't that bad, mate. And Ben's like, it's pretty funny because you're always like, oh yeah, what am I doing? Why am I getting angry about this? I don't know. So we just, same with gigs. Like sometimes you'd walk off stage and you'd be so angry. I said, mate, I thought that was great. I laughed. Oh, did you? Oh, yeah, thanks.
Yeah. The funniest one ever.
I feel like it's because you trust me that I'm not gonna. I'm not gonna bullshit you.
But I always, when the people I trust are going, all right. I need those people in my life because I know I go off all the. There was one time
we all do.
I was with my old, at one time dear friend Dan Brown, not the author. He was unfortunately passed a couple of years ago. But me and him used to spend a lot of time together, and he was quite a sage, wise guy and got me into a lot of the kind of esoteric stuff that I was into in my early 20s. And there's one time we were walking down the street and I started screaming at a wall that had a speckled paint job on it. And I was screaming about how shit the speckled paint was.
Right.
And just like, yeah. And it's like, it's not the paint. You don't care. It's not the paint. It's whatever else it is.
Yeah.
And I remember him and I looked around and he was just standing there with this look of just like, what are you doing?
Yeah.
And it just brought me out of it so dramatically. And he just locked eyes with me and goes, no more rage tonight.
Yeah.
No more rage.
No more. Everything's going to be okay.
I'm 110% going to steal that from him for future.
I'm going to fucking steal it with you when you're going off. Oh, yeah, you.
I don't have rage.
Yeah, no rage. The next time. The next fucking time the whirlpool starts.
Turns on the ABC at 1 a.m. on a Friday night. There's just static. Absolutely no rage.
Have some anger.
Do you want me to tell you the moment that I can say was the... Like if you were going to do a movie about young love, this is the scene that you would take from your own life to put on the screen.
Yes, please.
So I'll tell you about the first time I kissed my first girlfriend who... So it's year 12 and so when I was... 15, I got braces and glasses within about 3 weeks of each other. So I reckon I think I was pretty hot. And
I was similar.
so
Like, sex symbol.
so I was a skinny kid with glasses and kind of fluffy hair, and I played sports. I was fairly fit, but anyway, I was lucky that I was. I don't think I was ever an ugly kid, but I wasn't a good-looking kid. I was just somewhere where it was inoffensive to the majority of people, and so. So then I got the glasses and the braces, and as I said to my mum, it's like, oh, well, hopefully in 3 weeks I can get the hearing aid and get the whole set. And so, the sense of humour was there already.
Survival mechanism.
Yeah, right?
Yeah.
That's exactly what it was.
Work
It
with what you have.
ingratiated you to strangers, and it got you out of trouble in many, many ways.
Well, if people are laughing with you, they can't hate you.
Yeah,
It's
right.
neurologically impossible for them to.
Mate, I had a lot of the bullies thought I was great.
Yeah.
Make a few jokes here and there. Oh, yeah, fucking hell, mate.
No.
Direct quote. Anyway, so so I was in year 12 and I was 16 and I ended up sharing a couple of free lessons with a girl called Loren, who was pretty goddamn cute as a button, and she was a dancer, and she was she was kind of a little bit, I don't know what you would have called her, I guess she was in the pretty smart, cool group in high school. Do you know what I mean? Some of the girls were pretty, but they were pretty switched on and of liked, movies and
Not the
music.
cool kids.
Yeah.
Smart, cool kids.
Yeah. I think that's how pretty and bordering on the nerdy, liking Blackadder, that kind of thing. So, but anyway, we started sharing frees. We'd known each other for a little while, but not really. We'd never been in the same circles. And anyway, it just got to a point where over the course of the year, it just suddenly felt like we were hanging out all the time. So, she'd go into the city on Friday nights to do dance lessons, and we'd catch the train, and I only had 2 stops, and it was like, 2 stops isn't enough. So I'd go into the city and walk her to the bus that she'd go off and catch to dance school and that. We were just starting to spend a lot of time together. And then got the braces off, hammer. And anyway, so one Friday night we were down in the city, and her dance class wasn't until a little bit later. So we went down and hung out at the River Torrens, and it was June, July, and it was pretty cold, but it was a sunny, cold day. So everything looked very lush and green, and you had beautiful red and yellow leaves, and the reflection on the River Torrens was, quite sparkly. And there were a whole lot of pelicans who were sitting on the torrents and kind of coming down our way. And we were just kind of sitting, laying alongside each other, looking at that. And we were talking about things, and then everything went really quiet. And suddenly we watched as the pelicans took off and flew up into the pitch blue sky and kind of circled up into the fading sun's rays and flew off. And I, at that point, turned around and kissed her, and that was the first time we kissed, and we were in a relationship after that. And it was like
Magic.
There's 2 things to that. One is that is the most romantic thing that I think I've ever experienced, and 2. Fuck, I peaked at 16. I'm 32 years past my 31 years past my use-by date. This is a disaster.
Everyone did. They're so romantic.
Was that your first kiss? Like, not just with her, but first kiss in general?
I think I'd had a couple of,
shitty teenage, weird,
uncomfortable,
gross kisses.
When you learn terms like the turtle and and.
What was your first kiss?
My first real one, like when
what was your first just kiss?
Oh, I can't.
I reckon mine was
mine.
kindergarten.
Yeah, same.
Yeah.
I remember it well.
Like kiss and catch. I used to play that all the time.
Yeah, we played catch and kiss, and there was a girl who would let all the boys that hadn't been caught, at the end of the game, she would just give all the boys that hadn't been caught a kiss.
Oh, that is cute.
And I think that was my first kiss.
I remember
you still love her?
being in like year 2 and playing kiss and catch.
Definitely not, Hammer.
And wanting a boy called Sean Maloney to always catch me. I still remember.
Yeah, right.
He was older, and we used to play kiss and catch all the time.
Yeah.
My first real
27.
sweetheart.
This is a terrible story.
That would be a game like that would be busted up in this day and age.
Yeah,
that would not be be allowed at old game.
Yeah,
of
but
catch and
it's
kiss.
so important to kind of,
Yeah, of
you know,
course.
just
You're just
learn
feeling
boundaries
stuff out.
and you just it's a healthy curiosity.
Cute.
I can't think when my first real kiss was.
Mine was on stage.
First real kiss.
Yeah. So like I
Hang
was
on,
doing.
how old were you?
It was I'd already like had gross kisses, but I was doing a workshop of like a play. I was in year 11, so
yeah.
let's say 16, 17.
Yeah, right.
And there was a guy that I'd liked who was in the play, and we both got cast. And there was a scene where I was sitting on his lap, and the teacher was like, you guys need to flirt and, you know, be together. And if you feel comfortable, you can kiss, but you don't have to.
Wow.
And so for like all the rehearsals, we'd be like, I'd have my arm around him, we'd be like eye contact and stuff.
We're acting.
And not do anything. And the
great way
teacher,
in.
before we did the show, yeah, I know. Anyway, before we performed, the teacher was like, just so you know, you guys are teasing the audience. You got to do it one way or the other. You either make out or you cuddle, just decide before the night. We didn't talk about it because we were uncomfortable. Of
course.
And then the night of the show, we were on stage and we made out and it was amazing. And afterwards, my sister Monica came up to me and she goes, just be really happy that Dad's not here.
Oh yeah, right.
This is fucking mind.
Yeah. It's just acting.
It was great. It was really hot. And then we dated for 4 years.
Oh, Bo.
Wow.
Yeah,
very nice.
Wow. Like that's pretty brave of him, knowing that 16-year-old boys have things that they have little control over.
I think he was kind of
Man,
cocky.
do you remember?
I don't
could
think he
have
gave a shit.
Could have hung a hat off it.
Yeah.
I don't think he cared at all.
God, it's so out of
Wow,
control.
that kid's acting so well. He's got a heart on.
I know. He's a method actor.
Yeah,
so
yeah.
he's getting really into it.
Yeah.
It was fun. It was very
can't remember
romantic
my
and I
first
still
kid.
remember it. I liked it.
I
Yeah.
remember wanting kisses so bad.
Oh,
in high school.
Benny!
Like, I wanted them so bad.
You had to
I-
have had one where you kind of clicked in.
No, not at all. Because I was, we've discussed it before, but very overweight in the northern beaches, and I would
Can
fall
that be
in.
the name of your first autobiography?
Oh God! And every year I would fall in love with a different
But
girl.
what about like your first girlfriend? Didn't you have
My first girlfriend was when I was 21.
Yeah, but didn't you have a moment where you were like, oh, this is what it is?
Oh yeah.
Yeah, that's what I mean. That's what this
Yeah,
is. Like
she
that
was
moment where
17
you're like
years
by
older
the
than me.
water and
Yeah.
you're looking at each other and
Yeah.
it's insane. And you're
Yeah.
like, this is what it is.
Well,
Like,
And it's like at that point, having that first kiss and feeling that level of romance was the feeling of your chest getting so full of the possibility of the future.
the possibilities, that's what it is.
and-
Yes,
and
that's
as
exactly
you-
what it
that's
is.
poetry. Justin.
As you get older, those possibilities seem to decrease, and that's why it's just not as romantic.
Right. But that is exactly what it is.
That's
it's all
exactly
the
what it is.
possibilities. It's all the movies you've seen playing in
Yeah.
your head.
Yeah.
It's all the stories you've ever heard.
It's all the
wonderful.
perfection that you've witnessed of love
Yeah.
in the arts and popular entertainment. It's the lyric in a song. It's the visual of a movie.
Everything.
It's all of that. And then when you get older, you just go, she'll probably get annoyed that I want to watch another Coen Brothers film. Well, let's just call this off now.
Yeah,
You don't have one of those, Ben?
I'm reeling from that. I think you just nailed what's been going on in my head for a long time now. I think you just put it perfectly into words. I think that's exactly what it is. I can't even re-articulate what you just said. I'm reeling. So my first
No, feel it. That's okay.
my first kiss, we played spin the bottle and stuff in year 11 and 12, but that doesn't really count.
No.
The first one where I was like, holy shit, was
Your
my
girlfriend.
we were never really girlfriend. It was a very sordid affair. But
She was older.
She was much older.
Oh, yeah.
17 years older.
Go,
and,
Benny.
And I was in a stage where I just lost about 40 kilos.
Yeah.
Because I knew I was never going to get laid.
Yeah.
So I just ran around the block for about a year until 40 kilos fell off.
Yeah.
But I still had that.
What a good reason to lose weight.
Of course. There was a girl that I liked in my mind's eye the entire year.
Yeah.
Just like her face.
Yeah.
Just like vomiting in the gutter
And then
because I
you-
never exercised in my
And
life.
then you manifested this 36-year-old woman. Is that right?
It was quite remarkable.
That was your first sigil.
yeah.
You should have opened. You should have opened with that with Grant Morrison. That would have really endeared you.
Yeah, totally. Good job, little man.
Yeah.
It was like, and she was a very sexy, beautiful,
Sweet woman.
professional, world traveling kind of lady. So I was in, and I still had a huge amount of self-loathing. I'd lost the weight, but I was still a terrified fat guy that had never been touched by a woman before.
Yeah.
And
Can that be the title of your second autobiography?
I was still stuck in that headspace of like, if I take my clothes off, a woman will vomit. I've got stretch marks on my fucking sides, and this is kind of just, the internet was starting to come out, but, it still wasn't the ubiquity of kind of...
Yeah, you've got a story in your head.
Yeah, in my head, it was like, only women get stretch marks. So you must have some kind of like surplus of estrogen in your body, you disgusting fuck. It was just so much self-loathing.
Terrible.
And it was so weird. Like, we met at a cafe for, a conversation about, potential jobs and stuff. And I walked away from that cafe with all the self-loathing I had and all of the belief that no woman could ever find me attractive. And it was like I remembered something that hadn't happened yet. I just fucking knew it. I just knew it. Me and her, something's going to happen between me and her. And a couple of weeks later, I went to her house. We were smoking a joint. We were sitting on the couch, and she was just progressively moving closer and closer to me. And, I had no experience, and I was terrified.
She's cold.
By the way, I immediately pictured that incorrectly, and I pictured, you said moving closer and closer to you on the lounge. I pictured something like the Ring coming up from behind.
Just crawling towards him, nails on the chin.
Yeah, but you're sitting there going, I reckon something's going to happen, which actually points out that you are deeply optimistic, even though you deny it.
And it was a crazy experience because like we started to smooch, and my hair, it was like
fireworks. It's amazing.
It was like, what is happening? And then we ended up going into her bedroom.
I know, I'm like, wow.
We went into the bathroom to clean up the tears.
Yeah. So we went into the bedroom, and I was terrified.
Yeah.
Terrified. Because it wasn't just, you're about to lose your virginity.
Yeah.
You're about to lose your virginity.
Oh, you're just about to be naked with a woman.
Yeah, but I'm also about to, it's not like someone that's my age who's also kind of goofy and like, I don't really know what I'm doing. This is a person that knows what they're fucking doing.
Yeah.
It's going to become very clearly evident very quickly that you don't know what you're doing.
Yeah.
So
I still feel that way. And that's when I'm by myself.
So we're on the bed, and I was so much body shame. Like when she would touch me, my body would involuntarily like flinch away from her. Like, oh my God, she's gonna feel a tit and go, yuck, you're gross. That was my fear. I think because every girl that I'd ever liked in high school that I had spent the year working up the courage to tell her I liked was always just like, friends.
Yeah, and so this is your first experience.
Yeah, and it was like, if that happens again, I'm not going to be able to deal with it.
You had no idea that she was a woman who knew what she wanted, and
she
what
knew
she
what
wanted
she wanted
was
what she really wanted was a really underconfident virgin.
So anyway,
boy, did you feel that?
I'm poking around, not knowing what I'm doing, shaking.
Terrible use of words, but keep going.
Poking around.
Is that a knuckle? Like that kind of thing. And eventually,
is that a knuckle? What are you doing?
Poking around.
So eventually,
you're trying to finger her hand.
So upsetting. Poor woman.
No, shut up.
And
we're very, very close to this day. All right, so she stood up.
Yeah.
Walks over to the light, and at this moment I'm like, it's all over. It's all over. And she turns the light on.
Yeah.
And she sits back down, and she goes, listen, sweetheart, I've never faked an orgasm in my entire life, and tonight ain't the night that I'm starting. So here's what you got to do. And she ran me through everything.
All right, that's great. Best sex ed lesson ever.
And
every young man needs it.
If it's ethical and it's safe, I feel like every young man could really do with a woman significantly older going, calm the fuck down.
Yeah.
Relax.
Yeah.
This jackhammer nonsense, just pull back on that a bit. It's because you really don't know what the fuck you're doing at that age. And so while I felt so much shame for the lack of experience I'd had up until that point, it was all made good by that experience. It was almost like narrative. It was so perfect. It was like, how is this real? And it went on for, I think, 3 years.
Ben's never dated a younger woman since.
Right. That's true. And are you saying the first time?
It's a fact.
And are you saying the first time you had sex, it went for 3 years? Like, is she really?
Yeah, well, I was young.
Yeah.
How could, I heard her on the phone one time. I was eavesdropping, and obviously someone on the other line said, oh, yeah, but he's quite young. Like, he mustn't be very good. Because her response was, oh, but he can get hard like 5 minutes after it's done.
Oh, yeah. That's a young man's superpower right there.
Yeah.
By the way...
No longer. But she was the first great love of my life.
Yeah.
Like and you know, one of 3 great loves of
Yeah. By the way, my favourite part of that was the moment where you just slipped in without even blinking the word smooch.
I love the word smooch.
It's a good word.
Yeah, I love to smooch.
Yeah.
I think ending on our 3 first real smooches is a lovely point to end love. And Hamo suggested when he walked in that Ben and I should get a word from the guests, and I love this idea.
great
So
idea.
can we please get a word from you, Hamo?
Oh, yeah. So what we want is we want a word that is strong.
Sparks a conversation.
Yeah.
Sparks a conversation, but... and what kind of words have you had in the past?
We've had identity, rage, danger,
Shame.
love today.
Disgust.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Faith.
Optimism.
Oh. Cool.
Because you'll be able to, you know.
Cool.
Anyway,
Yep.
I don't know why I was about to start workshopping that word for the person who does it next. Because it's...
Optimism, and we need more potentially positive words.
Well, that's
No,
what
but
I
that's
was
good.
trying to
'cause
think of a
it's not
positive
coming
word.
from us.
Yeah.
But also there is, there's something very interesting about optimism, and it's you have to kind of find ways to reinvent it for yourself as you get older. Like you
Minute
can be,
by minute.
Well, yeah, without a doubt. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
But like I just find, especially now in my 40s, I have to make optimism be something that works for me, and I can't be bothered allowing myself to get negative about stuff that doesn't matter. So, when you're younger, you can be, things are black and white. Fuck Phil Collins. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah,
and then
yeah.
you can get older, and then, like, I hear someone like Phil Collins now, and because that music was so ubiquitous in the 80s, it reminds me of specific times. So why am I getting angry at Phil Collins? I'll just go, oh, yeah, that reminds me of Sky Show in Adelaide with Greg
you
and
let
Damien,
go.
So that's
So the word for the hat is optimism.
Anyway, optimism.
Thank you for giving us optimism, and thank you so much for talking to us about love.
Thank
worries.
you, Justin.
Thank you. I think I brought all the words, so that's good.
Where can...
We are Oink Time Pod. If you would like to give us a review, please do. This is a recent one that we got. 5 stars only,
please
as
give
Ben
it 5
says.
stars and a lovely comment. That helps us get it out to people to hear.
It's all about love.
Someone gave us one that said Ben and Jen equal 10 out of 10, and I want to personally say thank you, Fuckboy85.
Oh, yeah.
His actual name?
Yeah,
Oh,
it was a really
Fuckboy85,
sweet
what a
thing to
legend.
do.
Oh,
so
mate, he rhymed it. I'm all about Fuckboy85.
we would love more of those. You can
More
find
fuck
us.
boys. Yes, you can find us on Facebook. You can find us on Twitter at OinkTimePod. You can find me on Twitter at Ben Ellwood11. That's Ellwood with 2 L's.
You can find our producer Sean. Thank you, Sean.
Thank you, Sean.
With his podcast in brackets with Sean Allen. So do check it out. That's his podcast. You can have a listen. There's an episode with Benny as well. You can find me at Jen_Carnovale or Jen Carnovale on Facebook.
Where
if you
can
like the
people
show,
find you?
share it.
They can find me on, I quite enjoy Instagram.
Okay.
And they can find me on a little bit on Twitter if they want to get anything random retweeted, from animals doing cute things to my thoughts on Westworld, and a little bit on Facebook. But I've got a website if people want to read some short stories, justinhamilton.com.au. I try to write really succinct little tales now and again, so they can check that out.
Yes.
Awesome.
And if you like hearing me and Justin talk, we've done a lot of episodes of Justin's podcast. Can you take this photo,
I'm not sure
please?
it's up.
Really?
You know how I haven't really made an announcement, but I just kind of stopped doing it, and I think the registration came and went while I was in the middle of stuff. So I'm not sure it's out there anymore. I just feel like there's something new to do, and
Cool.
it's time to find out what
Well,
that is.
in the meantime, you can find out by looking at justinhamilton.com.au and see what he's up to and read some short stories. Thank you so much, Hamo, for talking to us about love.
Thank
Thank
you.
you.